In terms of protecting groups, I think, and I argued this to Madame Justice Koenigsberg, I think what the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act needs is an exemption for the production, distribution, and possession of marijuana intended for medical purposes. Our law currently contemplates general and specific intent crimes. This bill contemplates specific intent crimes in the area of cannabis production. In other words, you're not subject to the mandatory minimum unless the production is for the purposes of trafficking. Well, it's, in my respectful submission, not all that different to exempt out from the auspices of this bill, and frankly from the CDSA entirely, marijuana that's produced or distributed for medical purposes. Now, that doesn't solve all the problems. People will still get arrested. But what it does solve is the main problem, which is that people who possess and produce and distribute medical marijuana will no longer have their Section 7 rights to liberty and security of the person implicated by potential convictions in a criminal court. And the degree to which organizations seek legitimacy, like the VIX, like the BCCCS, which operate transparently and openly, will be the degree to which they avoid police contact. And so it does not take tools away from the police or prosecutors, but it does create a more compassionate and fair framework to protect groups that do good work like these two organizations.
If I could add briefly, certainly politicians have considered putting forward bills as well to add to the legalization of dispensaries, and certainly Libby Davies in the House has been one of the main supporters of these dispensaries, and we hope to see some action either through a private member's bill or otherwise that would help defend medical cannabis dispensaries. I would like to say in support of Mr. Toussaw's notion that how remarkable it would be out of the quagmire of Bill C-15 and C-26 that came before it, how remarkable it would be if out of this came some positive legislation for medical cannabis users throughout Canada, some positive legislation and protection for medical cannabis dispensaries in Canada. If there's a bit of good that you can do through this bill, that would certainly be it. And so I urge you all to give serious consideration to what Mr. Tousaw is going to be supplying, it sounds like, before the end of the day. It would be small recompense for Canadians who will be affected by C-15, but at least our critically and chronically ill Canadians would be spared the main impact of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Royal.
It's a question about the definition of trafficking. Does it happen, to your knowledge, that a person would consume marijuana for medical purposes would supply marijuana to another person who suffers from the same kind of, I should say, conditions, and because the person has not been successful in getting the supply, and get it from another person who has the capacity to have some? Is it happening?
If I could address this first, the sad irony is that because of the poor quality of both the Health Canada cannabis and, of course, a lot of the cannabis found in the black market, medical users, whether they're licensed or not, often choose to get away from the black market, to produce their own cannabis in order to reduce costs, in order to guarantee a better and safer quality, in order to grow the strains that are actually helpful for them. And when they find a strain that's helpful, for example, to treat some of the shakes or spasticity associated with MS, it's natural for them to want to share it within their local community of fellow patients. And so it is absolutely not unusual to hear of medical cannabis patients been told passing a joint is also trafficking as well. And when it comes to the higher level, to dispensaries, and the gram or 2 grams that we dispense for patients on a daily basis, that is unquestionably trafficking, and we keep very good records on that trafficking. We've never denied it.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much indeed. I thank you all very much indeed. Extremely interesting testimony and very helpful to us.